Ghana's Nuclear Regulatory Authority, NRA, is advising against people's choice to live under high tensions or telecommunication masts. According to the authority, the exposure to the radiations from these masts over a long period of time can have a negative impact on a person's future generations. They are also advising people to demand for certificate of authorization whenever they go for x-rays or scans at the hospital, since unauthorized service providers can expose patients to negative health impact. I've been engaging Dr. Henry Levy, the head of non-ionizing application department at the NRA. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us.
It's a pleasure.
We have a lot of people who have built their houses under high tensions and under telecommunication mast. Let's start with the high tension one. How dangerous is it for someone or some people to live under high tensions?
Good, thank you. Now, for all those high tension cables that you see, they transmit electricity. And electricity basically is the flow of electrons. And whenever electricity is flowing or the electrons are flowing in a conductor, a magnetic field is generated around the cable. Now, these magnetic fields that are generated, we consider them as non-ionizing radiation. And when you are located within this non-ionizing radiation, you are located in the field, it's likely that that radiation can have an effect on your health. Yes. Most of the time when you have to stay there for a very long time, then the probability that you have one of these effects increases. That is why it's not advisable for people to reside under these high tension cables.
Yes. Do we know the specific effect that one may suffer?
Okay, great. Now, these non-ionizing radiations, the effects that they produce, they are not deterministic. When I say deterministic, it means that it's not something that when you receive the radiation, instantly you see the effect. They are not deterministic. They are more what we call the stochastic effect, which may not affect you yourself, but could affect your generation. Others in your generation, it could affect them. Now, when you come to the electromagnetic radiations, the effect may not cause you something that you may see. Okay, because the non-ionizing radiations, their energies are not that strong enough to cause ionization.
Okay.
So what it can cause some heating effects, and these heating effects could even cause damage to your cells in the long term, and that could give you some health effects.
Okay.
Yes.
So it means that in your future generations, some deformities can come up as a result of the prolonged living under this
Yes, it's possible. Now, in this field, it's not like in the field of ionizing radiation where there are concrete data to show that. But for non-ionizing, there is that probability that it could happen. So because of that, you need to avoid that.
Oh, okay. Yes. But we don't have specifics in terms of the impact that they've had or recorded.
Great. Yes. You see, when you come to ionizing radiation, there have been accidents and incidents, and based on that, there's enough data to conclude that these are the effects that can be caused. But for non-ionizing, we do not have those much information to come to that conclusion. Okay. But what the assumption is that it could lead to such effects. Okay. There are studies to show that there could be such effects. And for radiation, you don't just assume that nothing will happen. It's better to assume something will happen and take measures than to say nothing will happen. Okay. Probably you may not be around, and maybe your second or third generation could have effect due to the fact that you decide to stay in that field. That is why it's better not to stay in that field. Now, to add to that, there are some things that we consider whenever you are in a radiation field. The first one is to reduce the dose of radiation to you. We consider three things. One is time. The time that you stay in that field. If you stay longer, the probability that the effect will happen to you is high. Okay. Then the second one is the distance. The closer you are to the source of the radiation, the higher the probability that would happen to you. And then the third one is what we call shielding, a shield. But mostly shielding is the workers that we talk of shielding for. But for members of the public, like those residing under those high tension cables, they can use distance and then time. So when you notice, they tell them that do not build directly under that. They give some distance, and when you build outside that distance, it means that you are safe.
Okay.
So that is why it's very important for them to follow these regulations or guides that are given by the ECG or whoever mounts those.
So which means that the squatters who are living directly under the high tensions in the city, they are in danger over the long-term period.
Yes, they are. Okay. It's not the best of things to do. And there are some readings that are saying that, you see, I mentioned earlier that magnetic fields are generated. And then our brains, when they are working, they send signals, electric signals that are sent. And these magnetic fields will actually interact with the signals that are sent by your brain. And that could also create a problem.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So those thoughts are actually there. Yeah.
Interesting. What about the telecommunication mast? We've heard in the past that if you live under the telecommunication mast, you may end up getting cancer.
Yeah.
How is that also?
Yes. Now that is just like the one I mentioned earlier, to do with the high tension cables. It's the same thing. Also emits it also emits non-ionizing radiation. So when you stay in that field for a long time, those effects you can suffer them. Okay. Those stochastic effects, you can suffer them when you stay in those fields for a long time.
Okay.
Yes, that's true.
But if that's the case, why do we allow telecommunication companies to erect masts in places where we live?
Okay. Thank you. Now, before any company at all can mount a telecommunication mast in any locality at all, there are measurements taken. And when measurements are taken, then when they realize that the values that they are getting is safe, it's then that you can be allowed to mount the mast at that particular location. And currently it's EPA that is in charge of that. So if the mast fails the test, there's no way EPA will allow them to build that mast. And then even where people are to live around the mast is indicated. But people will still go there. But you just want to tell people that once the demarcation has been done, don't establish or build within that. You are just creating problem for yourself.
But sometimes these masts are built or erected in people's homes, behind the house, on top of the house.
Yes. And in all these cases that you see, that is if that particular mast has been authorized. The measurement has been done, and where the people are is deemed to be safe. If they are not safe, they won't allow them to, be there, or they won't allow the mast to be built. Yes.
So there's nothing like us getting cancer. Those are myths. They are not. Things that you have evidence to back. There's nothing like that.
Yes, you mean those are built under
when we live under the telecom mast and what have you?
It's I cannot tell you that those staying there cannot get cancer, because getting cancer may not come only from the telephone mast.
No,
if it's only from those ones, the probability that is, if you live in the zone that is, if you are not in a zone that is demarcated as unsafe, if you don't live there, then the probability that you get it will be very low.
Okay.
Very low. Yes.
But why is the EPA doing that and not you, the NRA?
Good question. Before the NRA was established in 2016, 2016, that was when NRA was established. Then EPA was already doing that. And then they used Radiation Protection Institute, that's the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, to do the measurements for them. And then that's how it was. And then they have I think in one of their regulations or so, that responsibility.
Okay.
But our act did not repeal or whatever term they use that particular clause, so they are still doing it. But when it comes to, you may see it as our mandate as NRA, but because they were doing it, that is why they are still doing it. Yes.
So you're saying that if I live under a high tension or under a telecommunication mast, I shouldn't be afraid because the EPA has taken the readings, and when it's not dangerous enough, they will allow the mast to be there, so we shouldn't worry.
Yes, that is what it means. But here we are talking only about the radiation hazards. Radiation.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But there are other ones that are not to do with radiation.
Yes,
you could have the mast falling and all those things. Yes, that's a different issue.
Okay, but in terms of radiation, we should.
Yes, in terms of radiation, yes.
But just that when you live there continuously, generations after, you can have the impact.
Yes, it's possible. It's possible. That is why, as much as possible, if you can avoid it, do so. Do so. Especially when that mast has not been authorized by the EPA. If it has not, if it is authorized by EPA, then it's safer. Yes, then let me put it that it's safe. Because if it's not safe, they won't authorize it.
But how can the ordinary citizen tell that this mast has been authorized by the EPA?
Great. So if you live in a community, you can always check from the operators. You can check from them, or you can go to EPA and ask them whether this particular mast has been authorized. You can go to EPA, or you can ask whoever is there to show you evidence. Whenever NRA, whenever we authorize any facility, we give them a certificate, and then one of the licensing conditions is that, or one of the authorization conditions is that you have to display that certificate where, or at a place which is visible to people around. It should be visible to them. They should know that you are authorized. So if you pass by any maybe X-ray facility and then you don't see NRA certificate there, then it means we've not authorized it.
Okay.
Or either it could be that we've authorized it, but the people did not display it there.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So you can always ask a member of the public.
Once we are talking about radiation, another thing that is commonly perceived to be dangerous to our health is the usage of microwaves.
Yes.
How true is that?
Yes, microwaves, also non-ionizing, and they can also, the probability that they can cause these radiation hazards or radiation risk is also there. Yes. So the microwave, whenever you are using it, you have to make sure that it's not leaking. Because when it's leaking, then it means that the radiation that's not supposed to come out is coming out. So in trying to shield the radiation from, I mean, when you look straight into the window, you look straight in there, you see that there's something like a mesh in there. Yes, so that mesh kind of prevents the microwaves radiation from coming out to you. That is why you have to make sure that when you are using your microwave, the door is actually closed. It seems the system is designed in such a way that when it's not closed, you can power it on.
Okay.
But some can find a way around it. The door is not closing. They can try and then close it themselves and then power it. With that, there could be leakage, and that could harm you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we expose the food in the microwave to the heat.
Yes.
We don't cover it.
Yes.
Isn't that a source of worry as well?
Okay. So the fear that people have is that because it's microwave, after warming the food, the microwaves will remain in the food, and then you eat and you are eating microwave. But that is not the case. The energy of the radiation is what will interact with the water in the food, and then it warms up the water. That is at the end, it warms up the food. So it's not like it's a microwave that is deposited in the food. No, it's not. Because when you take food out of the microwave, and then you take an instrument to measure whether there's microwaves, you're not likely going to see anything. But yes, people advise that you take food out of the microwave, put it down for some time before you eat it. It's just a fear that there may be some microwaves emitted in there. But
Okay.
that's okay.
But scientifically, I can just pull my food out of the microwave and start eating. Nothing, no problem at all.
Okay. Yes, that can be done. It's not like for if the microwaves, if they're actually like particles, they are particles that go into the food, and when that happens, some of the particle is deposited in the food. Then you can think of something like that, but that is not the case.
Okay.
That is not the case.
So when does it become dangerous? Okay, so my door is okay. I close it.
Yes.
Nothing is coming out.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. You know, even the manufacturer, when they manufacture, they take all those measurements, but most of the time we don't read the manuals.
Okay.
But if you read the manuals, you realize that they've passed the test before they get in here, especially the new ones. But what we are thinking of is those second-hand ones.
Okay.
Because probably they've been used over there for a long time before coming here. And some are even old before coming in here. They need to check whether they are leaking before it gets to the market.
But the Energy Commission checks that.
The Energy Commission for the second-hand ones, or you mean the new ones?
Don't they check for the second-hand ones?
Well, the second-hand ones, I don't know. Okay. When the importers bring them to them and then sell in the market, I don't know whether Energy Commission checks that. If they are checking, then they are checking for the power consumption. That is why they may check on and not the radiation.
But why aren't you also checking for the radiation bit?
Good question. You see, these microwaves, when they bring them, they come in bulk, quite a lot of them. Probably you want to just sample a number of them and then do the check, because you can't go to people's houses to go and check that just because of the pure number of microwaves that you are looking at in Ghana. Our numbers cannot do that. Yes, we are thinking of, especially the used ones that come into the country. We are thinking of getting the importers, so that when they import such, we go take samples, do the measurements, and then if the data we are getting is good, then we can give them the authorization to take it out to public. But you know that settings, you need laws in order to do those things. You need regulations in order to do that, and we've not developed those ones yet. Yeah, but it's something that the department is looking at.
No, but once it has to do with radiation, and we have fears that second-hand machines could probably be quite dangerous to the health of Ghanaians.
Dangerous. Could be dangerous.
Could be dangerous.
Yes.
Why should we be looking on? Because for all these years we've not tried it.
You know, these things have legal dimensions and then all those things. So we need to have the act and then the regulation. Normally the regulation tells maybe the operator or whoever what to do, and we need those ones too. Currently we do not have that. We are working at getting such regulations to be passed by Parliament. So we need a lot of help from our Parliament when we send our regulations to them, and then they work on them and they are promulgated. That will help us, and it gives us that more power to actually do our work. Because let's take it that you have somebody who has imported a microwaves in bulk. You are going to do inspection, you want to take measurements, and that could take maybe some time before such a thing is done. And then the person says, which law are you using to come and do this? Right? You know, these legal things, as much as possible, you want to be sure on what you are doing. You are backed by the law, so when you do it, and the people should be ready to, or even when they are importing. Let me use X-rays. For X-rays, you don't import an X-ray into the country. These are the ones they use in the hospitals or wherever. You don't import any unless we give you permit.
Okay.
If we import it without permit, then that is a violation.
Okay.
And you have to be dealt with.
Okay. I'll bring you to the X-ray conversation, but with so for brand new microwaves, do you check them? Currently,
no.
You don't check that too?
We are not, but we intend to start doing that.
So how can I trust that even if it's a brand new microwave, I am safe to use it?
Good. At times you need to rely on the manufacturer's manual, okay? Because outside there, most of the time, this X-ray, I'm using the X-ray again as an example. Before they get into the country, where it is manufactured, they do those tests. So when they come here, they come with those certificates, but we do our tests and confirm. Yes, that is how it is. So what it means is that those ones, the new ones, they come, they are confirmed, the tests have been done, but we over here we've not confirmed it. So that is.
So you're only believing that the guys over there have done the right thing.
Yes.
So if in case because of business they haven't done it, then all of us are at risk then. That
is unfortunately that is how it will look like. Yes, but you see there are rules and regulations. If the company, there's a licensed company, they are bound to do the right thing.
Okay.
But if they are not, you can have people that will do these things without them. That's where the challenge comes from.
So what would be your caution or your advice for people who would want to buy microwaves that are second-hand ones?
Well, for the second-hand ones, as much as possible. I don't want to sound like I'm spoiling somebody's market, but I'm looking at health here.
Sure, yeah.
So as much as possible, if you have the means, don't go for the second-hand one. Don't go for those ones. Try and then get a new one.
Okay.
Yes, it's safer that way.
With this X-ray conversation, what's your role in there as the Nuclear Regulatory Authority?
X-rays?
Yeah.
Okay, so our Act mandates us to actually regulate anything that has to do with radiation, devices, and even if you want to do research, and that research has to do with radiation, you need authorization to do such a thing. So that's briefly, that is what.
Okay.
Radiation.
So if I go to do an X-ray at a hospital or any facility that offers that service, what should I look out for?
Okay. So as a member of the public, you go to an X-ray facility. The first thing that you need to look out for, to be sure that machine is working well and I'm safe, what you have to do is look out for the NRA certificate. It should be displayed where you can see it. When you don't see such a thing, then it's likely that that facility has not been authorized. And when a facility, or if the facility is not authorized, and then you deal with them, then you do that at your own risk.
Okay.
But when they are authorized, it means NRA is giving you some assurance that that facility is safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I know? I mean, what should I do if I go there? I don't see anything on the wall.
Yes. Good. If you don't see anything on the wall, ask the operator or whoever is there, ask whether they've been authorized and ask for the evidence that the facility has been authorized.
Sometimes you go there as a patient, you're feeling pains.
Yes.
You just want to go through the process.
Yes.
Would the person really have that time to ask, let me see your health certificate before? Realistically, if the person, unless of course you are not in pain and you're walking there healthy, but you've been asked to check something, that's fine, you can do that. But when someone is in need of a relief, he or she might not consider or have the patience to go and ask for a certificate.
Yes, that is very true. So that is why we are encouraging the public that when you see such a facility that does not have the certification, kindly inform NRA so that we will move and then make sure that whatever is there is corrected before the patient we are talking about gets to that facility. So we actually depend on the public for information. And we have people calling us, they've seen this facility here, but they are sure the facility is not authorized. Then we go in there. If they are not authorized, we make sure they do the right thing. So that is why we want the public to know. You go to any facility, the X-ray facility, and then you don't see our certificate there, kindly inform the NRA, and then the appropriate measures will be taken to regulate that facility. Aside
the certificate, what else should I look out for as an ordinary person? What should I look out for to tell that this is a regulated entity that's doing the right thing? So in terms of radiation, I'm told there's a device that you use in measuring how much radiation is even bouncing back to the person who's doing the work. What should I look out for to say, okay, these people are doing the right things?
It will be difficult for the lay person without the certificate to conclude that that facility is not authorized. Because what you are talking about, the badge that you are talking about, is only the operator of the machine that wears that badge. So if you go in and the person exposes you before you see the badge or you don't see the badge, that will not be the best. That is why we actually advise that they display the certificate outside, because for the lay person it will be very difficult.
But how dangerous is it for me to go for services from a facility that has no authorization?
So you are exposing yourself to radiation. You see, when the facility is not authorized, then it could be, or it could happen, that the level of radiation that that machine is supposed to emit, that will be safe for you. That is, if NRA has authorized that facility. You have a facility, and then let me just use numbers, okay? Let's assume that for the problem that you have, the broken bone that you have, the X-ray level that they need to do that, let's take that is 10 that they need to. So if NRA will go to that facility, we're going to do measurements and see if it is 10 that is coming out. Now, if it's 10 that is coming out, so if it's 10, then you are safe. But if a machine that has not been authorized is emitting at, let's say, about 40, and then you go there, you expose yourself, that level is too high for you, and that could cause a problem for you.
Okay.
Yes. That is why always you go to a facility, when it's radiation emitting, make sure that you see the sign there, the NRA certificate, then that gives you that assurance that this facility has been authorized.
What do you do when you get a facility that has not been authorized?
Well, when a facility has not been authorized, the law mandates us to take a number of measures. We could close that facility down. We close it down and then make sure that all that they have to do in order to be authorized, they do that. So when they apply to us, then we'll go for inspection. We do our inspections and then do all our verifications. And then when that facility meets our requirements, then that facility is given authorization.
Okay. So just to wrap it up, wrap this conversation up, what would be your advice to people who are watching us now? From those who are living under pylons, to those who are using, microwave, we all use microwaves in our homes, to, people who are going for X-ray services.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So my advice to members of the public is that in all these things, you need to make sure that you are safe. And in order to do that, do not stay under these pylons. Do not stay under them, because you stay there for a very long time. And then even depending on your sensitivity, it could create problem for you. So do not stay there. And then for the X-rays, you go into that facility, as I've already said, make sure that that facility has been authorized before you go in there. So that gives you assurance that you are safe. Okay. That would be my advice.
Doc, I'm grateful for this.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Research, and that research has to do with radiation. You need authorization.